All right, call this meeting, governing board meeting to order on Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 at 5 p.m. in the Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District number 35, governing boardroom, district office 570, Camino Lito Galindo, Rio Rico, Arizona. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Lourdes?
Me? Oh, absolutely honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Lourdes Vasquez.
Present.
Mrs. Susan Fobian.
Present.
Mr. Joel Kramer, absent. Mr. Rene Ramirez.
Here.
And Mr. Brad Beach, present. Adoption of the agenda,
I have no recommended changes, thank you.
okay. A motion to approve agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Then a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Subject C, call to the public. All right, moving ahead. Two, subject A, presentations, Calabasas school data and SIAP.
I think this is a continuation of our school site presentations, and tonight we have Calabasas. Invite Mr. Tom and the team to present.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
The board, the administration, thank you guys for having us here. We always look forward to trying to share all the positive things that are happening at all of our sites. So I just want to commend all of the other sites for all the hard work that they're doing as well. Getting on with Calabasas. Make sure this clicker works here. Okay. I won't waste your time going over this. I know that Mr. Lopez did a fantastic job covering this the last time that we had this presentation. So, just to recap, this is how we are assessed as a K school. Okay, looking at the points, kind of going down with our school integrated. I know all of us want to go down to the bottom, but we want to kind of hit on each of these spots as we kind of go. So, looking at the proficiency and sensibility proficiency, that's one thing that we're constantly working on. And I know that for us, as we're going through our data and trying to figure out where are the holes, where are the things that we're missing, and what are we going to do about it. And so as we went through the data, I know that a lot of our data was kind of we left a lot of points on the table. And what I mean by that is we've really made a conscious effort this year to really focus on trying to get those students that are in the minimally proficient level and move them up to partially proficient and just get everybody to move up one level. One of the things that I know that we talked about this in the Leadership Academy over the summer. We're constantly talking about this is how many of our students that we have in that lower area. We're trying to get them into the area so we can try to get some, not just points, but it's also for their own good. Right? Looking at the data from ASA, looking at the data from MAP, looking at all the benchmark assessments that we use, and making sure that whatever we do is kind of geared on trying to get people to move to the next level. I know that our team, both at the elementary level with Ms. Rivas and Ms. Aguirre, working extremely hard to work on the elementary portion. And I know that Mr. Orman and Kota, who's our new IC there at Calabasas, have been working extremely hard with trying to get those growths that we really need in all of our proficiency levels. Areas of concern that we've always had is math. I think that's kind of no secret. We want to make sure that we're kind of hitting on the math, but that's one thing that's big for us. With our growth, hitting on our growth, we've had a lot of growth when it comes to those students that are towards the bottom. And we that's kind of where we're seeing the growth, and we're trying to focus on not only those kids, but we're also trying to move all of our kids, right? So growth is seen across the board. We want to make sure that we're not forgetting about those students that are proficient and highly proficient. We want to get those students to move as well. So for us, it's very, very important that we have that growth. And one of the things that we've been doing is trying to celebrate their growth. You know, those of you guys that have been to Calabasas, you guys have seen our, you guys have hopefully seen the media center, the ceiling, we have the ceiling tiles, that's part of our ceremony that we do with students. And then with our middle school, we also have a ceremony called locking in, where we use the data and we look at the beginning of the year and the middle of the year, and then we kind of look at, you know, did those students make that role for the projected, you know, proficiency and are they moving? And this year, something that we've done in a partnership with the elementary at the middle school level is Ms. Cota has taken upon herself to really push that growth when we have our Pride Den evaluations with our actual math classes, because our big push is math. So what we're doing is we're looking at all the benchmark assessments that are happening in the math classes in middle school, and we're doing a monthly celebration. So for example, first month that we did, we had a group of students that grew, and if they grew, what their reward was for that first month is we allowed them to, and the kids loved it, to go down to the elementaries and read with the younger kids for that block of time in a Pride Den hour. The kids loved it. They were very, very excited about that. We've also done like a sports game day kind of a thing where those students were allowed to have that kind of incentive, right? And you know, we would all like to think that all the students want to do it just because it's the, you know, goodness of their own heart, and we hope that we eventually get there. But those incentives are very, very important. So Ms. Cota has been working extremely, extremely hard to really push that with our middle school team, making sure that the interventions that we're providing during our Pride Den time is something that is being used wisely. We have reshifted our Pride Den time, which is our intervention time for middle school, a little bit. Last year we made the switch to move them, and I know that Mr. Lopez commented on this before, where we have that Pride Den at the beginning of our, you know, of our day. We looked at that at the end of last year and kind of wanted to make some tweaks to it. So what we did was we used those elective teachers that are assigned to a grade level, and they actually push into the classroom, and they're an extra adult to work with students during that Pride Den. So they don't have their own separate group. They actually push in, and they work with those teachers to be able to, you know, provide extra support for extra small groups. They can pull an extra small group. They can do things like that to be able to really help as a support for that, you know, for the intervention time, which is our Pride Den time. So for us, that's, that's the things that we're kind of looking at. And you know, with our elementary, we're constantly checking data, whether it's iReady, whatever the case may be, and we're making sure that these students are moving. And with a new program for a K-5 with Savas, that's something that we're really making sure that the teachers are trying to do the best that they can to follow that, because it is extremely powerful. The new program with Nibbles also is very, very powerful as well. And I know that Michelle has been working extremely hard with her team to help out with that. So growth is something that we're constantly trying to work on. And I really feel strongly that with those changes that we've made at the elementary level, with the help, you know, of Ms. Rivas and Ms. Aguirre, and then those changes that we've done at the middle school, Mr. Armand and Ms. Cota, I really feel like we're going to make some positive changes this year. So looking at the next section there, we have the EL proficiency and growth. That is one area that I really feel extremely proud of. We have done a lot of very, very positive things, and I'll kind of save a little bit of the information for when we get to the Azela slides, because I do want to kind of show that, you know, in a real time, so you can see the actual numbers, because I really feel like they're a very, very positive thing for us. But we did get more points on the Azella than we've gotten in the past. Those points are 10, and we actually got 4 and 4, and we were actually really, really close on the growth to get that 5th point. We were 0.01 percentage points from that 5th point. So we were close, and I really feel like we're gonna get there. I really feel like the changes that we made, and I'll kind of explain the things that we've done once we get to that Azella slide, but I do want to touch on that, you know, in a little bit. The acceleration and readiness, I do want to make sure that that's one area that I know that there are some things that we can definitely work on. And looking in that, I do want to make sure that when we're looking at chronic absenteeism is one of the areas that we lost some because we went down, right? And that's been a very, very big agenda item on my behalf, is making those phone calls. We've had a lot of meetings with families and, you know, parents that, because we have a lot of kids, right? If one kid's out, the whole family's out. And unfortunately, it's not something that is easy to fight. And we do want to make sure we get that back under control as much as possible. For us, one of the areas that we lost those points were in the chronic absenteeism. And you know, the kids and their families are doing a much better job. One of the things that we're doing, a couple of things that we're doing this year is I do announce to the grade levels every single week which from our K-5 of the grade spans, which of the grade levels has the best attendance for that week, and they do really wait for that. Teachers have told me that the kids really do kind of listen to that announcement every single Monday because they want to hear if their grade level was the one that won. And then we also have one for middle school as well. And that's one thing that I'm constantly sharing with them is the attendance and making sure that they're hearing that. So that's one thing that myself, Ms. Rivas, and Mr. Orman have really been pushing on that. I know that we've had a lot of meetings with parents and families of these. We began having them in the summer and kind of, you know, have been moving forward with that. So that's been a big push for us. You know, we have a few of the other subgroups that I know that we've been really working on and really trying to figure out, you know, where is it that we really need to hit. And for us, not just the chronic absenteeism, but we want to make sure that we're growing in all areas, right? And so those, again, going back to the minimally proficients and those groups, I really feel like if we do what we're going to do in those top parts with the proficiency and stability and the growth, we're going to get those other points with those actual subgroups there's to try to get back into that 10. And I really feel like we were really close, but I think that, you know, close doesn't count. So we need to make sure that we try to get that done. The science points I have, you know, when we're talking about bonus points, we have a fantastic 8th grade science teacher. And for us, if you guys remember from last year's presentation, the 5th grade and the 8th grade science results are combined for us. And I'm very confident with what 5th grade, you know, they've been awesome the last multiple years. But I know that we have a really good, solid 8th grade teacher now that I think is really doing some extremely positive things. She's fantastic. And I really feel like she's going to really help out that average to give us a chance to be able to get those points. And you know, she's doing a lot of really hard work. She's beginning to pull some groups during that Pride Den as well to be able to help with the science kids that really need that time. So for us, it's really important that everybody feels like they have a role to play. And for us, it's a team effort, right? We are Calabasas Pre-K-8. It's all hands on deck. So some of the things that we've been doing, you know, last week we had, I've shared with a couple of people, we had cafe that was put together by our instructional coaches, and it allowed some time for us to learn from each other. And it was really beneficial in terms of PCBL with the Zella. We kind of kind of hit a bunch of different areas to be able to kind of show some things of kind of what we're doing. So, so unfortunately, you know, we have tested. That's always a big thing. We want to make sure that we're testing all of our kids. So that was the highest percentage of kids that we've ever tested at Calabasas. That was a very, very big conscious effort by our two, you know, coaches at the time. Ms. Ballard, who is now in the classroom, which I'm very, very excited to have her in LA. She's great. The kids are working extremely hard for her and are doing a great job. But her and this past year, Ms. Aguirre did a great job with the makeups and trying to get those kids tested. We want to make sure we're testing as many kids as possible. All right, so there's our C, you know, looking forward to really continuing pushing. I truly believe that with the work that Ms. Rivas is doing with Ms. Aguirre at the elementary, and then Mr. Orman is doing with Ms. Cota at the middle school, and then all of us bringing things together, I think will be good moving forward. Okay, so this is some important information for me and really important data for me. And I know that Mr. Beach, I know that he's extremely, you know, passionate about Azela, and we all are. Calabasas, you know, as you guys may or may not know, there's about of our student population, close to 40% of our students are enrolled in CI. And so we have a pretty high population of our SEI kids at Calabasas. And I want you to kind of look over, one of the things that really stuck out to me is two big things. If you look at first grade, and the reason I'm going to bring up first grade, if you look at the students, the percentage of students who increased proficiency levels, that was a huge increase from first grade. Last year, first grade had 28%, and this past year they jumped up to 72%. A huge jump, and it was a shift that they made in the way that they were teaching the ELPs during that time, during that targeted time. And the reason I'm bringing them up is because during our cafes and other opportunities that we have to learn from each other, first grade is beginning to really share their strategies with the rest of our K-5 to be able to really implement what they're doing to try to mimic those kinds of results that they're getting. And overall, you know, we had of our 9 grade levels, we had 6 of them that increased from the year prior. A couple of them only dropped a couple of percentage points. For example, 5th grade went down from 41 to 38. And then we had 7th grade that went from 20% to 18. And in middle school last year was our first year. We had a teacher that was in there for the first year. So it was our first year teaching that program. So I really feel that now that she's kind of got her bearings going, that, you know, she'll definitely make some positive strides in middle school. So you know, I think I'm extremely proud of the work that the Calabasas teachers have done with the Azela students. Constantly trying to move kids out of that program. You know, the goal is to try to get them out, you know, and really try to get them to improve. So we did have an increase of the amount of students that were tested proficient and the amount of students that moved up a proficiency level as a school. So, you know, just like I said, you know, I am very, very proud of them. Overall, we went from 24% of our students that increased one proficiency level last year to 40% this year. So I am very, very proud of the work that all of our teachers have been doing. Sharing a lot of really, really good ideas. We restructured our SEI program for middle school. We do just like Mr. Lopez does. We actually group ours by level in our 8th and 7th grade. However, we did add another 6th grade teacher that had previous experience at another school teaching SEI. So we kept all of the 6th grade students with her. We did that for a multitude of reasons, because of numbers. Quite honestly, we had over 80 students that were in the SEI program in middle school. And that's a lot for one person to handle. So we had a conversation over the summer, kind of looked at things that, talked to Ms. Padilla. We kind of figured that would kind of be the best option for us kind of moving forward. And so those students have that sixth grade teacher for Pride Den and for that class period as well. And so that's what we did for sixth grade, but with eighth and seventh, they are grouped by level. And then some of them have, depending on their level, we'll have them again have Ms. Lunia for Pride Den again. And then they'll also have, the other students will have another teacher that is teaching the ELPs in their content area. Okay, so that's how we've restructured the SEI program in middle school, and then elementary is trying to mimic a lot of the things that first grade is doing. Okay. We'll kind of just go through these. A lot of slides have a lot of grades. Like I said, I know math is an area that we're constantly working on. Grade science, I know we're going to do even better this year. In grade science, and I'm positive that we're going to do significantly better this year than we did last year. So looking at our goals and action steps, we have a goal, an overall goal to set to increase our math proficiency by 5%. I wanted to make sure that it was something that that we would definitely have to work towards, and kind of have a plan to be able to do that. So we do have our data meetings that happen monthly. Have them in all 9 grade levels. They're very, very focused. Our instructional coaches and our APs work very hard to put that together. And we'll discuss it before we have the meetings to make sure that there isn't anything else that we need to do that. And we always talk about groupings. Groupings are very, very important when you're talking about small group instruction, whether it's at the elementary level or at the middle school level. We are still trying to push that small group instruction even with our 8th graders. We're looking at Pride Den groups, where we're looking at groups inside of the classroom. It's very important to be able to understand that small group instruction is truly beneficial to the kids. And that we want to have some flexible opportunities to be able to kind of hit their needs, and that's where Pride Den kind of comes in for us at the middle school, and then at the elementary. 3rd through 5th graders still will kind of shift teachers around, and they'll kind of hit the teachers, and we figure it'll give them the best of every teacher that we can give them. So that's been something, and those groups have been created based on the data, whether it's iReady, whether it's Dibbles, whether it's whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that they're placed in the appropriate group. And then that personalized learning, we're really trying to embrace that and really push that with all of our grades, with all of our new teachers, trying to onboard them, but also those people who were in Launch 1, advancing that, and those people who are in Launch 3, pushing it right behind them. So we have that kind of structure with ELA and math. One of the things that wasn't working, and we had to make a switch very, very early, was we used to do what is called double dipping with our elementary. And what that means is for Dibbles, there was one, depending on the data, whichever grade that we felt was the one that needed it the most, they would have the reading intervention time twice. So twice in one day. But looking at the new a new program for Dibbles, we had to make a switch just because of time and because it is so scripted. There wasn't any time in the day to allow for that. There wasn't a lot of flexibility to be able to do that because it is so scripted and it's very, very timed. Like it's extremely scripted. I'll just say that it is extremely scripted and it just didn't fit into our schedule. So we had to kind of get away from that. So that was a thing that we had to drop. We always try to engage our families. We really try to bring them in using our data nights. We have had data nights where we've talked about the data. We had a SEI night about a month ago where we invited our families of our students who are in the SEI program to talk about the SEI program and kind of what does all this mean when they get the paper home in the mail. What are they really looking at? Right? When they're talking about the test, why is it important to pass the test? Talking about our middle schoolers, you know, as they go through the SEI program, why it's important to pass the test before they get to high school. What are some things that can happen as if they're still involved in the SEI program when they're in high school in terms of credits and credit recovery and that kind of stuff. So it was actually put on by our SEI teachers, and one of our 5th grade teachers was the one that kind of spearheaded it. Laura Ramos was the one that kind of spearheaded it and helped with the SEI teachers. And we invited them, bought them pizza, you know, bring them food and they will come, right? So we had some food for them, for the families, and it was a, you know, great presentation by the ladies. They did an outstanding job. It was in English and Spanish. Obviously, we want to make sure that a lot of those presentations that we do in Spanish, a lot of the things we do. And so that was very, very important to us. We will have a data night for our 3rd grade. That's one thing for us with the Move On When Reading. It's very important for us to have those families coming onto our campus and really getting to know, like, you know, what are the things that we're looking for? Here's how you can help at home. You know, these are the things that will happen as a result of you helping at home. You know, last year, one of the things that I'm very proud of with our team is we didn't have any students who were retained in 3rd grade last year. The year before, we started with 13 and then we cut the list down to 11. That was the year before, and last year we had none. So that's a huge deal for our 3rd grade team. They worked extremely hard last year to get the kids to where they needed to be. So we were very, very proud of that team. They did a great job with those kids, not having any kids that were retained for Move On When Reading. So those kinds of data nights are extremely important. We try to have as many opportunities for the parents to come on campus as much as possible. We're trying to bring them on campus. We always have to be kind of creative with that because of our parking. You know, those of you guys that have been in Calabasas know that the parking there isn't an overabundance of parking, so we have to be very strategic as to who we invite and kind of how we structure it. Kind of do it in waves, but we do want to have those families there. And then also the last goal, create student-centered learning environments in all classrooms that develop the portrait of a graduate attribute in all students. Our things like fine dining, those posters are in every single room. We actually honor our students every week. And what we do is we use the portrait of a graduate and we talk about that in our classes. And then our teachers, we do anywhere from 3 to 4 grade levels per week. And we'll select students based off of the attribute for that quarter. Okay, so first quarter was one attribute. The second attribute we're on now. So every week I will announce on Friday which students from each of those grades will receive an award based off of the attribute, and I read as to why they were selected over the announcement. So the kids come up, they get like a little certificate and a little button, and then they head back to class. But they're very excited about that. They're very happy about that. But that's one of the ways that we push it. There's a board in our front office that has the pictures of those kids under each of those attributes of wherever they're qualified for. So if you have a chance to see that, we would love for you guys to see that. So we want to make sure that the teachers are doing that it's in practice. I know Marta Ramirez is the one that's kind of been running that for us. That was something we talked about in the summer, and she's just ran with it and just completely taking it on. So she's done a really, really great job with that. And, you know, we really push on the Launch One members to help and support. And, you know, just wanting to bring as many people into that PCBL, you know, just trying to onboard everybody that we can. Because we're constantly having brand new teachers to our district, brand new teachers to teaching, and we want to make sure that they're involved in kind of what we're doing. So, you know, there's a lot of positive things happening at Calabasas, and I know that, you know, the APs, you know, Mr. Rivas and Mr. Orman, they are two wonderful instructional coaches, Ms. Cota and also Ms. Aguirre, have been working extremely, extremely hard to really make some positive changes for Calabasas. So that's it. I believe that's it. I'll take any questions you may have.
Right. Ms. Fobian?
Thank you for the presentation. It's really clear. And I like your step. I think those make sense. And I feel good about the future at Calabasas. It's tough. You've got a lot of different grade levels to deal with. So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Vasquez?
Same thing. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very, very clear. I see that you guys are doing a lot of stuff at, you know, Calabasas to make sure that we, you know, we bring our kids up and stuff, you know. I like that, that data night that you have with the parents, because I think once you get the parents involved, and I think that the parents are the ones that, you know, they say, oh, well, you know, if you can do this, because, you know, we need all the help we can get, you know, as teachers and as administrators, when you're, you know, when you have the buy-in from the parents, okay, then everything moves a little bit, you know, better, okay? So I really like that, and the fact that you guys are doing it and trying to do it, you know, like you said, you know, it's a challenge, and it's just like with the kids, you know, the chronic absences, you know, it's a, what do? You know, you can't force anybody to really come, you know, and stuff, but if you can get them there, like you said, you know, feed them and they will come, okay, they will come, okay? So I think that's a really good idea, that what you're doing. And I just wanted to ask you, what does PCBL stand for?
So that's the personalized and competency-based learning. So that's what the district has been.
Oh, the district has been doing, okay, I hadn't heard it before. I'm just, you know, I wasn't sure about that, but
Personalized and competency-based learning.
yeah. And you have a huge enrollment in SCI, and that we always had that there. I mean, Calabasas is one of the ones that usually has the most, plus, you know, you have a bigger school per se, okay? So good job, good job. I'm hoping that we do get all of this buy-in and that the teachers do work harder. And I mean, not that they're not working hard, because we've always, you know, they've always worked really hard. But to get, you know, our kids, you know, to push them just a little bit.
They've always worked hard. We just have to work a little different.
A little bit different. There you go. That's the thing.
And, you know, that's
Yeah.
where.
Because if it's not working, yeah.
Norman and myself have really trying to communicate that with them. And then with the coach's help, that's been really,
I think that's
really beneficial. To be in the classrooms and really, you know, just visiting teachers and that kind of stuff has really been a big deal for us. So we've used that a lot.
Yeah.
with our teachers.
And then the fact that you guys got together with the cafecito stuff and that's when, you know, I mean, everybody else starts talking and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know that you did this, or I didn't know that you could do that, you know, and then you start getting that, you know, those conversations that are so helpful for us, you know.
So it was truly impressive seeing, because one of our presentations in that cafe was the kinder team, and they were talking about centers. And they were talking about how they run their centers, and I was in a group that had a couple of middle school teachers, and they were asking a lot of questions. And so the middle school team is even beginning to ask a lot of questions to the elementary about, you know, centers and kind of what that looks like, and they were asking questions as Pam just left. So they were very excited about it as well.
I'm glad, yeah, because that way, you know, like you bring it on and the kids already know it. So if they already know it and they know how to do it, then it's a lot easier for the upper classes, you know. So, good job. Kudos to you guys. Thank you very much for all the work that you guys do.
Teacher Ramirez?
Thank you, sir. Well, first off, I want to talk about something that most people don't like to talk to you about. And they don't cut you any slack, especially your bosses, which is demographics. So your demographics are completely different from the other middle school, way different. I know that from having worked there. And I also know that as the leaders of our school, the leader in your team, you're really not supposed to tell Mr. Chavez that, hey, your demographics are different, therefore, you have a different situation, because in the world of education, we're always supposed to say, it doesn't matter what your demographics are. You're still supposed to be up over here and high on your statistics and all. But I'm very realistic. You do have different demographics, and that is a challenge. And that's what makes this whole puzzle so difficult for you. You have a very challenging job. I would say that out of all the administrators, and this is not, to slide anybody here, you have it the toughest. So, John, I mean, you really do. That's a really tough job. And Ms. Fobian kind of touched upon one part of it, which is you have different grade levels. It's like running two different schools. So Mr. Verdulo can really appreciate this because he had to run that school. And you as an administrator didn't have the same job that other people did. That was like having these two schools all the time. So I just wanted to say that in all fairness to you, because, you come in and you're trying to, and I really love your positive attitude. You come in, you have it kind of challenging to try to tell the school board, hey man, I gotta see, but these are some things that I see in my school that are pretty cool. So that's great. That's a big plus on your side, that you have a positive attitude. Also, I like that you're young and you have tons of energy to come in there every day to try to make that place rock and roll. And you have a vested interest as well, as you have family that goes to school there, which is really super cool. Because I know you want to get out there and make that place the best. Okay? So I have all the confidence in the world in you, but I really feel for you because those are challenges. The demographics are different, even though we changed the lines, because I remember we changed the lines, and I remember Dr. Lunderville talking to us about those, and it helped a little bit. But still, despite what anyone in this room wants to say, that's a hell of a challenge. One big challenge. So you got tough, really tough. And the other thing I wanted to say is just think about a guy like Mr. Fanning, who we all know. He had a lot of experience and he went into that school. And that was one hell of a challenge for him too. He was faced with a C and had to get that. He was working like a dog to try to get that place up to a B. You remember, Megan, you were there, and I was there as a teacher, and so was Ms. Vasquez here. We worked together, and you remember how hard it was on us. We would have those meetings and they kept asking us what are things we could do to improve our math scores and so forth. And he's a friend, as you well know, a good friend of mine. So I felt so bad for him that I started volunteering on my Saturdays to run Khan Academy for math, because it was always a weakness at the school. That's to show you how hard it is to make that place rock and roll. So I don't know if we could get some people to do that. And I was going to ask you, do we have teachers that are using Khan Academy?
We do. That's happening more at the middle school. It's not happening for the elementary. Khan is more secondary based, but we do use it at the middle school level. Yes, for sure we use it. Because
I would strongly, recommend that you get people to do this. So,
like I said, I love Calabasas. Obviously, both of my kids have gone through there. One's at the high school now, but I wouldn't have my own children there if I didn't quite believe in what was going on. And I know that working with the other principals, they're all really, really close friends, and we do bounce a lot of ideas off of each other. And I do beg, borrow, and steal, what we can, and we do have that collaboration. And I truly admire all the work that they're doing. Because I know that they're also doing some very, very positive things. So anything that I can take from there, from any of the elementaries, from the middle school, I know that John's been great in trying to share information from be able to bring it down to middle school. So I really try to lean on them, and really, when I have a question, I really go to them, because I really feel like they understand me, and we're very, very transparent with kind of where we're at. And I do really feel like Calabasas can be at that level that the other sites are at. And I really feel like eventually we'll get there, maybe not tomorrow, but we'll get there eventually. And I'm positive that.
I just want to tell you that when I first got there, you know, I had taught algebra in the high school before, and I thought, hey, man, I'm a pretty successful algebra teacher. I had good stats and all this stuff. But man, that's a totally different ball game. Going down there and teaching in the 8th grade, that's a totally different ball game than the high school. Completely different ball game. I think a lot of people, I used to say, I vowed that I would never teach in a middle school. And then when I went over there, it was quite the eye opener. You know, you would think, well, the math is easier, so it's easier to teach. That's not how it works out. These guys, you really have to do a lot to motivate these guys. Especially since we have this whole situation in the United States where we socially promote people no matter what they do. That's why we have a lot of kids that come into the high schools who don't know the multiplication table because they're socially promoted. So at any rate, I wanted to tell you, while I was there, the expectation was we had to go visit the other middle school. We had to go visit Cuatimundi. And that's when Mr. Palumbo, who was very successful as a math teacher, shared with us all the things that he was doing with Khan Academy. And so it wasn't an expectation of Mr. Verdugo. It was just something that colleagues shared with each other to try to help one another. And Johnny too was very good about that, you know, grabbing, as you said, big borrower steal. So he brought that idea he injected that into our school, and that helped my kids out a lot. I tried to go beyond that. My brother, he does some stuff with math consulting. I tried to introduce some other things. This is just too much. But Khan Academy was very useful. So again, I don't think it's an expectation, right? We just kind of tell our teachers, here it is, and if you want to use it to supplement your classes, that's what you do. Or am I wrong?
And Ms. Padilla would like to share the state now, we have a free subscription for Conmigo, which is an extension even more in depth from Khan Academy. So I don't know if you want to share that.
Yeah, so Khan Academy is supplemental, right? Using it for, if I have a gap in one concept, Dago has a gap in a different one, we're gonna have a different path on Khan Academy.
Kind of plays into the personalized learning.
Right. And so, then in addition to that, we are taking advantage of ADE's offered Conmigo for our students for free this school year and next school year. And so all of our students grades 6 through 12 have access to that through their Clever. So it's very easy for them to access. And then there's training, I think tomorrow, our training becomes available. And so it's pretty new. We've only had access for maybe a month now, but that's what we're gearing up to make sure everyone knows how to access that.
Yeah, I want to say the only danger in this is that I remember from teaching in the high school, later on after I had left here, I went to Nogales. I remember teaching there and seeing some people who started using Khan Academy. And then after COVID, they began to just use that strictly to run their classes, just telling kids, hey man, go to Google, hop on. And it became it was nasty. It was like, they're just throwing them to the wind after a while. Like there was no more one-on-one instruction. So there's that little danger still involved. And then people responded to that because administrators started saying, hey guys, you can't just be running your class through Khan Academy. So there is a little risk of that. I don't know.
Yeah, as Mr. Padilla said, it's a supplement. It's not a
Supplement, exactly. That's what it's supposed to be.
And then the Conmigo is the same, which is AI. And so students get to go on there and actually have an AI tutor. And so we're very excited about that opportunity because I was actually got to see it firsthand, and it's great because it doesn't give you an answer. So it coaches you through how to solve problems, and it's not just for math, but it's for all content areas.
Right. So what I was trying to get at is, don't feel bad. I mean, think of a veteran, administrator like Mr. Fanning. He bust his booty up, man. He barely crossed over and got the B. And man, he did everything he could think of. I mean, Ms. Vasquez can vouch for that. We were just working like dogs to try to raise those grades. Here's another thing I was going to say. It's just a suggestion.
Absolutely.
It's your ship, you know, but I'm just saying this, that, when I was looking at the statistics that you were showing us, and it was like in 5th through 7th grade, that's where you showed the weaknesses. You're telling us the strengths were really cool, by the way, in kindergarten, 1st grade. I saw all of that up to 4th. I was paying attention to it very closely, but I noticed that where Ms. Vasquez and I used to teach, which was in the middle school, that's where they dropped. And I'm gonna tell you something here. Some of those kids, John, you really gotta impress upon them to take the test seriously. Because back in the day when they would take the standardized test, we had kids that were doing the Christmas trees, you know, with the filling in the bubbles. And they don't take the test seriously. So I would just strongly suggest to your team that we put an emphasis on that. Hey, guys, you can't do this. Once again, why did they do this? Because they knew they were going to be socially promoted. So they're not stupid. They're clever. We don't give them enough credit for being so clever. They sit there like, man, they're going to pass me anyway. So, hey, I might as well have a good time. And it's hard to get them to be serious at that level. Here's another challenge that you got that I'm sure you appreciate as well, which is when they come into that situation, into 5th grade, they're leaving their childhood and they're becoming young adults. And that's a very difficult transition for them. I would say, based upon my personal experience and having hung out with you guys and having heard everything that you guys said in 8th grade, 6th grade, and what we said 7th, and heard the 8th grade teams, that 7th grade is really rough. That's where they're right in the middle of all of that transition to becoming a young adult. You know, many of them don't want to grow up. You know, they want to remain a kid. And so that seriousness about taking tests and doing that kind of thing, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. How you get them to take the test seriously, given the situation that they're in. It's really rough. I feel for you. There's some tough years. So, all right. How about some advice? You guys do with it, whatever you want with it. There was one. We can introduce Khan Academy for math to improve the math scores. Make it an expectation to have this as a supplement. What else? There's another one. Oh, you had mentioned how Julie Ballard is now in the 8th grade and how this has made a big difference. And we know her, we know. She was really good when she came into 7th grade. Wow, man, she cleaned up and made a big difference. And so who you hire is exceptionally important to the success of your school. And right now you got another challenge. Everybody does, all administrators, which is we don't have a lot of people, big pool of people to choose from that are highly qualified anymore. We're getting people just left and right that are long-term subs. And that's killing us. I saw that from personal experience from having gone back to that school. That's tough. And I don't know how to solve that one, Ms. Sordo. You know probably more than I do about that, but that's another challenge that you got.
Yeah, so just to address some of that real quick, tonight you'll be hopefully approving a job description that will address some of that need. Because we know that that's not going away as far as the teacher shortage. I think the latest numbers were 3,200 this year in Arizona that have not been filled. So up from 2,600 last year. So it's not getting better. And so the job description that we are proposing tonight will actually service long-term substitutes and make them either on the Pathways program or support and support for first-year teachers. So we're creating a position in our TLA office that will support those teachers because we know it's a need. And so we understand that, so it's not going away. So how do we do it? We improve their instruction. So that's what we're gonna try to do with that new position.
That's awesome. That's good. So the other one that you had mentioned tonight was the absenteeism. Where I am at our school, we cleaned that up really well. And I wish you guys could come to the school to see it with your own eyes. You'd be impressed. You see these kids run, man, to class. I don't know, I think it was probably like that where Mr. Beach was too. They were really good about the attendance policies. Yeah. But one of the things that we do is, and we should adopt this. I don't know that we have it. I'm not sure. But we have Saturday detention. Now, some people in here may think that's draconian, you know, that's too old school and there are better ways to go about it. But I'm telling you, it works. Whatever works, I think we should try it out because these kids, you gotta ask yourselves, why does it work so well? I'll tell you why. Because parents don't want to get up on a Saturday to be bringing their kids to detention at our school early in the morning. They want to sleep. So that situation gets resolved in the house real fast. And nobody wants to be getting up early after a hard week's work to be taking their kid to the school because of their tardies. It works. It works at our school. So I don't know if we could somehow divert some funds and find somebody to run a detention center there on Saturdays and be tough about it with these tardies. Yeah, but it works. So I'm just throwing that out there. Guys might want to try that out to clean that up. And again, you would score some points for your school. And by the way, kudos to you because I was looking at the bonus points and you still picked up the 2 bonus points. I'm a real big fan of the bonus points. So you picked them up, John. So hats off to you. You didn't mention that, but hats off to you. I think you did a good job. So I had a few more, but I know that I talked a lot, but these are important things, guys. It's important to go over these things. I think it'll make a big, tremendous difference if we try to inject some of these ideas. You might not try all of them, but even if you try 1 or 2, it might make a difference. Because I really do care. And I think about this school. I care about all the school, of course, but this, you got it tough. You got it really tough over there. So anything that we could do to help you, hey man, I'm all ears. You know, I'm all for you. And I think you're doing a real good job. Don't give up. I love your attitude, John. And I think you're doing a fantastic job there. Just keep it up. Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
You bet.
Yeah, John, great presentation. I agree with Mr. Ramirez. You do have a lot of challenges at Calabasas. Azella's, kudos to you on the scores for Azella. You know, I always like seeing the Azella scores because those are the same students. And anytime we can get them to move to a proficient and then stay proficient for a couple of years and exit the program, it's just outstanding. You know, it's giving those kids a way to move on. When I was looking at the data, you know, you gotta, I'll just go over what I saw. On the 5th grade ELA in 2023, they were 34% proficient. And I like going over like cohort by cohort, okay? So in 2024, the 2023 class took the 2024 test. They went down from a 34 to a 16% proficient in the 6th. Let me see. 5th grade math in 2023, it was 17% proficient. That class, and I'm sure some students left the district, et cetera, but in 2024, they went down to a 2% proficiency. 7th grade ELA, 2023 was 32% proficient. In 2024, they dropped to 14% proficient. 7th grade math went from 10% proficient. In 2024, that class dropped down to 5%. Okay, so I'm sort of comparing the class in 2023, they're now 20. So I'm looking at it. So, you know, as you look at the data, we got to ask ourselves why.
Right.
You know, and I would recommend teacher interviews, student interviews, maybe. I don't know if you have done that. You might want to do that. That might be a starting point. But it's always good to look at the data, and whether it's great data that it went way up, or hey, you know what, we're not seeing the growth. You got to ask that why question. Okay. Do you guys have Achieve 3000?
No, we're hoping to get that. That's on our wish list for title. So that's what we're hoping to get. That's yes, that's on our list for sure.
I'm gonna throw some stuff out just like Renee did. Okay. One, I wouldn't worry about who's minimally proficient. Let the data, Doug was talking about how you guys look at data. If the data says these are students that need the help, get a strategy to help these kids. That strategy will not only help the lowest of the lowest, but it's gonna help the minimally proficient bump up, okay? If that strategy has some data behind it, okay? And once you get Achieve, this was something we used at Pearson High School, Achieve 3000. We saw that our students couldn't organize, read a paragraph or read a story and organize it. We identified the students, and I think I mentioned this before, we came up with the who, what, when, where, why somehow, how. So as they read, they started writing down who, what, when, where, why. etc. Every teacher, well, I did it on Thursday, but once a week, every teacher, math, social studies, science, English, we all became reading teachers. Okay, we all taught that strategy. The students knew that strategy by heart. We actually took pictures of the student. We made the strategy, we put it in their classroom, they owned it. But we had short-term assessment, which was the Achieve 3000. We had midterm assessment, which was in class. We actually did a article, students wrote about it. We got together, we used the state rubrics to grade it. And then we had the state data for our long-term. So we had the 3 assessments and we actually graphed it so you could see whether the strategy was working. Okay, so we did a little bit different than maybe you guys are doing. All right. Down at Pearson High School, we also had something similar like personalized learning because they're on the computers. I had kids that were in biology, earth science, physical science in one class. They were all over the place. And our principal said, Mr. Beach, you know, they got to learn academic science, but I go, they're all over. Where do I start? So they implemented a thing called bell work. So for 10 minutes, I had to teach a mini lesson. The English teacher looked at the data, the state data, and they had to teach a mini lesson every day, 10 minutes, a closure, a 5-minute closure. And just to give you an idea, a visual of how that worked, on Monday, they came in, I might've had a picture of a factory, water leaking out of the factory into a very green river, okay? And I had a protocol called noticing and wondering. So what do you notice? And that's all they did, notice, wonder. 5 minutes at the end, John, what did you notice? What do you wonder? What do you notice? What do you wonder? Boom, boom, we wrote it down. Tuesday they came in, they're noticing, they're wonderings, I got the top 2. That was the research that they did. I wonder why the water is green. I wonder why, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. So they did research. Wednesday, we had a discussion. Thursday, I sort of gave them the overall, what it's called, okay? So we sort of solved the problem on Wednesday. To get the academic vocabulary, I used the Notice Wonder protocol. We had an experiment on Monday. They would read the paragraph. I noticed that they're experimenting this academic vocabulary. That's called the independent variable. Okay, that's what the experiment's about. I wonder why the results were this. That's the dependent variable. Okay, how did I relate that to math? The independent variable, the experiment, is the x-axis. The results was on the y-axis. So they started getting into algebra. Oh, is that why it goes on this? And that's why on the y it goes here. Experiment, students, test scores, here. Okay, so we had to implement bell work. I'm not sure how it works at your school or Doggles because personalized learning, you have students all over the place. So what do I teach? Okay, mine in science was just thinking. You read a paragraph, what do you notice? What do you wonder? Okay, get the vocabulary down. The English teacher, they were teaching concepts that were going to be taught on the state test, but it was data driven also. Okay, where do they need the most help with? Okay, so as you move forward, you know, just you got to start thinking outside the box, asking why, you know, and do we have a strategy or a protocol or something that the entire school can use, the classroom can use, and sort of move forward on that. So, you know, keep on looking for ways to improve. I'm super proud of all our teachers, all our administrators. I know you guys work hard. Sometimes we don't see the data that we want to see, but as long as we're looking for improvements, that's all we can ask.
Well, that's one thing like for us is, you know, we can argue data. So, you know, just looking at the data, being able to, okay, well, what are we gonna do about it? Right? You know, I don't feel, yes, I get upset about it, but I'm not gonna dwell on it. I really have to figure out what am I gonna do about it, right? And that's what drives me. I want the best opportunity for our kids, whether they're at high school or whether they're at the high school or any of the elementary schools. You know, they're our kids. So I want our kids to have the same opportunities that the other sites, you know, give their their students as well and of their learners. So that's why I work a lot with them, trying to, learn from them and kind of see what are the things that are working, try something different. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So our instructional coaches have been going to visit the other sites. Even at the high school, they've actually gone a couple of times to go and see the high school and kind of how that works as well. So, that I really appreciate the other principals for their willingness to work together and allow us to be vulnerable and be able to bounce those ideas off of each other, because we do work very, very well together. And I'm very happy, very proud to be part of their team. And I want to thank Ms. Rivas and, Mr. Orman and, both of our instructional coaches, Ms. Cota and Ms. Aguirre, for the work that they've done so far to really make those changes that we really need to make and really have those hard conversations. So.
Mr. Ramirez?
Oh, yeah, I just want to say that, yeah, you're right. You got Dagwin. You guys have been good friends, and I'm sure he shares ideas with you and you two with him. So it's really cool. You do have real good support, and the superintendent who ran that, sir, which is just awesome. So, and we talked before you were the principal. We used to talk about how hard it was to run that place, and you mentioned some challenges for people that had been there before. So again, hats off to you, and thank you for your presentation tonight.
Yep. Thanks, John, for the presentation. Ms. Rivas?
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Subject B, superintendent's report.
Thank you. Wanted to start out just thanking the Riverview High School with our athletic program. Time to Fly soccer. Got a lot of positive feedback with a lot of teams that were here from different districts across Southern Arizona. And they all come with what great facilities we have. And so it was just a positive way to showcase all the things happening down in the fields. And so it was just good to hear the positive feedback from them. Wanted to thank Mr. Beach, Ms. Fobian, for attending the Stuff to Bus on Saturday. It was a great success. Want to thank Mr. Fanning, Audra, and Angie for all their work, and all the parent liaisons for putting that together. I know Mr. Thompson, Mr. Chavez, Barmijo, and Ms. Alegria were also there. Also thank driver Ben Nosagaray for volunteering to drive the bus. And then the participants, JROTC, the Hawks dance team, Future, Saginaw Student Council, the CTMS, Rio Rico High School Jazz Band, for being there. And again, thanks to Angie for putting this report together, but also it's the 4th annual, and this year, 355 plus gifts were collected. So I wanted to just say what a great success. So thank you again for everybody that participated. And this is our last board meeting of December, so I want to wish everybody happy holidays as we come up. Next week is our last week of school. Hopefully we end the semester very strong. Good, yeah, and that's remember with this Christmas time. So again, it is years going fast, but I want to thank everybody for all their hard work this year, and again, finish the semester strong. Thank you.
Moving on to subject C, governing board members report. Ms. Fobian?
Thank you. Yeah, all of these events that we have going on are so exciting now because they are so community driven, and we're providing things for the entire community to do. And the partnership that we have, like with Rotary and with Walmart, to be able to do that, it's a wonderful thing because the district becomes a real entity where people are involved. And yeah, the students were so excited at the Stuff to the Bus. They were just, all engaged and happy collecting and asking for more answers. So everything seems to be going nicely. The pipe break was fixed a way for the students to still be taught. Nobody had to give up on education those days. So it's going well. Thank you.
Ms. Vasquez?
Same thing, everything that, for the students, for the athletes, for you know, the stuffing of the bus and everything. I wasn't able to go because I went to the Tubac Festival of Arts, you know, where the illuminate, the lights that they put on. That was a really, really cool thing, you know, to go. I had never gone, okay? I mean, I'm local. I lived here. I was born here. And this is the first year that I go to the Tubac Festival. Never had gone. I went to every single little store, okay? I went all over. I went everywhere, okay? And then some of these people were giving like liquor and stuff like that. They were like, whoa, no, you know, but they were giving a lot of good cool stuff, you know, like food and stuff like that. That was really, really cool. And they had, you know, music, you know, some places and stuff. It was really cool to see that many people, you know, out and about, you know, walking around and stuff like that. That was really, really cool. Got to see a bunch of the students and everything. And then, of course, the parade, okay, the parade was really cool, you know, with all of it was pretty big this year, you know, I was really happy with that. It was very, very big, and everybody loved, you know, the participation of both schools, high schools, you know, their bands and their, you know, their cheerleaders and their, you know, dance teams and everything, you know, and you know, the time to fly the soccer, I've heard a lot of good things about, you know, the people that came down and that were looking at our facilities. Of course, we have the best facilities ever. Okay, that's what I say, dude. And and again, just letting the kids know, you know, thank you to all of the teachers, to the principals, to and to everybody that's you know, that's involved with all these kids, and that we hope we end you know, this semester with, you know, really strong, and you know, happy holidays to everybody. You know, take care. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah, I want to say Mr. Beach showed up in his bicycle, by the way. So,
That's my sleigh.
That was his sleigh. He was Santa Claus.
I too went to the electric light parade there in Nogales. It was so much fun.
It was.
Nice to see those schools
Mhm.
working together and putting on that parade.
Yeah.
It was great. The kids are so happy, and it was really nice. I happened to see the luminaries. There weren't a lot of them, except for by Tubac Jacks, I think, on that side over there. But
There was a lot. There was quite a few. Mhm.
it's gone too early or something.
Well, maybe. We left at 9 o'clock, so we were there all day, because I went through all of them. It was really cool.
So I want to thank everybody for the donations that are listed, you know, on our agenda.
Yeah.
And it's really great. So much is done, accomplished with those donations. So I want to thank the community for all those donations. The ones that Wisdoms gave too, they're really cool. And but they're, you know, all of them we're very grateful for everything that the community does for our schools. And let's see here. Yeah, I didn't want this year to end and this last meeting to end without saying something about Mr. Kramer, because I didn't really talk about him right at the election, right after election. But I wanted to thank him for all the contributions that he made to District 35, because he took some really tough stands at times that were very unpopular. And that's not always easy to do as a governing board member. You know, I always mention this to you about the view of the you know, the horse, I mean, the fox and the hound, as I always tell you. And I've said this over and over again, how sometimes you're on the opposite side with a governing board member, and he took some tough stands. And he made some big changes as a consequence, whether you liked him or not. He made changes. He influenced enough to make those changes. So I wanted to thank him for those changes, for being brave to take a tough stand that ran sometimes against the current. And also he brought a wealth of knowledge to the governing board. Some things that maybe you don't appreciate. Well, he was an administrator. You guys are administrators, you know, it's a different perspective from being a teacher. I mean, when you're a teacher, you think you know everything, you know, oh, wow, this is the way things should be run, and this is the way you should do the thing. But then when you're really in that position, you learn there's a big curve, and you begin to see why it is that the state has rules and how you have to enforce these rules against the wishes of teachers. Just a simple thing like the safety things, the videos. But when I first got here, I was trying to change that because I used to hate them. And I thought it was such a waste of time. 8.5 hours you have to spend, even if you fast forwarded those suckers. You're able to, as we all know. A lot of you do. So it's a big waste of time and you're sitting there wondering, what in God's green earth the governing board or the district doing to us? So, well, I learned the hard way too from Mr. Verdugo that Manny and his team, that many of these things come down from the state. So hats off to him, you know, he was an administrator and he brought that experience to our governing school board. And sometimes you never know, it could rub you the wrong way because he knew things that you didn't like that he knew and knew them well. And so again, going back to the Fox and Hound, you know, he knew things and sometimes put pressure on you, just like I did and other governing board members. And sometimes it's not fun, but then when you see the good that comes from it, then you appreciate it afterward. And I know that you don't have the same perspective that you have now as when you started. I think you're a lot calmer about that kind of stuff. And I think you're more accepting about it, Mr. Verdugo, to your credit. And you know as well as I do, everybody in this room, the more experience you gain in any position, the better you get at it, which is what I was trying to tell Mr. Chavez with regard to Mr. Fanning. So at any rate, I want to give him credit. And lots of people used to tell me, wow, you know, he knows a lot about a lot of different things in our community and state laws, and he's in tune with the state legislature and so forth. But let me tell you something, that guy was really good at research. He was terrific at research. He still is. It's no small wonder they got him down over there in Nogi. Okay? Because they appreciate his experience and his intellect. So did a lot. And I want to say I got to know him. He wasn't my friend when I arrived here. And I got to know him not only as a colleague and friend, but he taught me a lot, and I'm very appreciative for all he taught me and for all the work that he did for District 35. So, Mr. Kramer, hats off to you, and thank you for your work. And last thing I want to say is, just like you guys, Merry Christmas to everybody in Rio Rico, in our community here, the Dubac, and you name it, all of District 35. For those of you that are not Christian or not Catholic, you know, happy Hanukkah. And if you're not religious, well, happy holidays to you. You know, and I wish you well and enjoy all those tamales you're gonna probably get to eat, but be careful. You got a guy right here who's real good at exercising and setting the example, even though he likes to eat those pies down there at San Cayetano. Yeah, he still mixes it up with exercise. So I would say that mix things up with exercise, guys, because your health, you're no good to your family, nor in your job if you don't take care of your health. So the superintendent, he does his fair share of exercise too, even when we go to the conferences. So try to mix it up with that. Have fun, of course. Have a great holiday with your family and your friends, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Meara. Yeah, those safe schools, my aide hated doing them. My aide.
Oh, yeah.
I'm retired now.
That's your limitation.
Hey. All right, tomorrow we got a wrestling match, 4 o'clock Wednesday, first home meet. Should be pretty exciting. We got a new mat too, so that should be pretty cool down there. Wishing Mr. Taylor the best and his team. They've been practicing hard, so good luck to them. Christmas parade, yeah, wow. Yeah, after 40 minutes, my grandkids were like, home, home. It was a long one, but we had a blast. Renee was there. I saw him. I saw the whole Morley was packed. The opposite side was all packed. The whole community. We had our ROTC band, Rio Rico, Two-Back Fire. Everybody participated. Seemed like the Christmas spirit was coming back.
Really big. It was a lot.
Yeah, so I'm seeing that. In the morning, stuffed the bus. Yep, Audra was there, Angie were there. You know, and everybody that participated in that, kudos to you guys. Because I know it takes a lot of work just to get the bus down there. Our dance team, our little cheerleaders, John was there. It was just a fun time. But once the bus leaves, somebody has to unpack those presents. So yeah, the day didn't end there. So I know the work that goes into that, but it was super fun. We do it for the kids. We do it for the students. Okay. Yes, Santa Claus is coming to town, as I call him, UPS. And it is an exciting time for our students, but a very stressful time for the parents. Okay, we sort of see our bank accounts go down. How are we gonna make ends meet? But you know what? Whatever holiday they celebrate, they wake up, that smile on their face, etc., will eventually get evened out maybe in February or March. Yeah, so don't worry about it. It comes with the holiday season, a little stress. But other than that, yeah, we've got a couple weeks left of school. Let's finish strong and have a great break and come back remotivated in 2025 already. Crazy. It's going quick. And that's all I have. And now we're moving on to number 3, information discussion action, subject A, release of contract for Mr. John Fanning.
Thank you. The board has an appetite to go into executive session. My recommendation is to release Mr. Fanning and to waive liquidated damages. It is to me, a life-changing event, becoming a public servant. And so I know that the board, all the questions, things as far as do we have somebody to replace him? And I'll be honest, there's nobody that can replace Mr. Fanning, just for what he does for our district and our community. He's just moving into a different role, so he'll still be tied to the district, but I will try to absorb some of those roles back. Audra will also be taking some of those roles, and we're working on that new job description back in January. So again, my recommendation to the board is to accept Mr. Fanning's resignation, release him from contract, and waive damages. If it answer any questions.
Ms. Logan, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Ms. Vasquez?
Nope, I totally agree with you.
Well, you know, he's a very good friend, and of course, I'm inclined to want to do this. However, I do want to point out that I was in the exact same position. The exact same position. I too am a public servant. And I was charged liquidated damages of $1,000. So it's exactly parallel. And for me, it's not, John knows me well. He knows that I'm not doing this because I want to punish anybody. Or anybody here knows that about me. You should know that about me by now. Oh my God, I've been here long enough. But it's the principle of the matter. I was charged $1,000 for the very same situation. I gave notice when I was going to run, which was in August. And I was assessed the liquidated damages. I think only one person voted for that here because you guys weren't here before. I'm not sure. I don't know how Mr. Kramer voted on that. I think he did too. I'm not sure. I think he did, but reluctantly. I think he was the only one that said something about it. But I think it was a 5-0 vote. So I don't like it out of principle. He's my friend. It's really awkward for me to even discuss it, but I'm not afraid to say it like it is. Never have been, and I never will be. So it's an exact parallel, Mr. Verdugo. It should make everybody wonder a little bit. That's my piece.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Ramirez. Okay, motion to release Mr. John Fanning from his 2024-2025 contract and waive liquidated damages in the amount of $1,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain.
I abstain.
Mr. Ramirez, 3-1, motion passes. Moving on to executive session, Mr. David Verdugo, Superintendent.
Yes.
For the record. Point of order. For the record, it's not 3-1.
3-0.
3-0. Abstain, okay. Mr. Verdugo?
Yes, so the next is Ms. Newman. And would like to go into the executive session or answer any questions. I could.
Mr. Verdugo says is it for Ms.
For Ms. Newman.
Okay.
But otherwise, again, she did not request the cure or anything like that. The recommendation from the principal is to release, but assess the liquidated damages of $1,000.
Okay. Any questions, Ms. Fogarty?
No questions.
Ms. Vasquez?
None. I had already talked to Mr. Verdugo and I was.
Mr. Ramirez?
I have none, thank you.
I have none also. Motion to release Ms. Rachel Newman, from her 2024-2025 contract and assess liquidated damages in the amount of $1,000.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Now we're going into executive session, release of contract, Mrs. Brianna Moreno.
Yeah, and again, this is, the board would like to go into session. Did make his recommendation, to, not release we hire a teacher, for that position, and assess damages. And again, it is board for that, we usually again, accept the principal's recommendation. And although, with this individual chooses to not come back in January, we hopefully will have a person by then. And so again, I guess the recommendation would be then to release from contract pending a new teacher and assess the damages.
Ms. Bowie, any questions?
No questions.
Ms. Vasquez?
Same thing. No.
Mr. Ramirez?
Just to be on the safe side, yes, we are assessing the damages.
Yes.
Yes.
Unless we find somebody?
No,
Even.
either way, yeah, so it is assess the damages either way, but not release until we hire somebody. And that was the request by the principal, which the board can do. The board can say, yes, we release her as soon as, approve to release as soon as we hire somebody for that position and assess the damages.
Well, the only thing that I have to say about this is that we have any parallels because we can't be playing games like this. Like you have one set of rules for one person, another set of rules for another person. So if we have if we're gonna do this, but yet we've done it to other people in the past where we let them go, we're really setting precedent. And I don't like that.
Yeah, we've done this before where the principal has recommended that we don't release until we hire somebody.
Okay.
I have nothing, motion not to release Ms. Brianna Moreno Moon from her 2024-25 contract until the replacement
Is hired.
is hired and assess liquidated damages in the amount of $1,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 I abstain.
One abstain, 3-0, motion passes. Now we are down to policy, subject D, Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District policies.
And no policies to review that. I'm great with policy.
Okay. Let's go to subject E. Proposed and priority type topics and possible dates and times for future board meetings.
So we do have the ABSA conference next week. Attending, and so we'll have there, and then our next board meeting is not until January 14th after that, which is our organizational and regular governing board meeting. As you remember, we used to have it a week earlier because the law has changed that we could actually have it on our first meeting and have our regular meeting. So that's our next meeting. January 14th, but again, any other additional topics that the board would like to add, that's that list of future topics.
Ms. Fogarty?
None at this time, thank you.
Vasquez?
Nothing either. Thank you very much.
Good also. Okay. For consent agenda. Approval of consent agenda. Any matter on the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed as regular agenda items upon the request of any board member. Ms. Bobian, do you have anything?
I have nothing right now. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez.
No, I don't.
Okay, motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Then a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carried. And that is, oh,
Yeah.
superintendent, there is one more.
One more.
Subject A, ARS 15-341-839, Superintendent's Performance Pay Plan for FY 24-25. December 10th, executive session. Okay, there we go. Executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A12, notice is hereby given to the general public that the governing board of the Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District number 35 may vote to hold an executive session for purposes of discussing the evaluation and performance pay of the superintendent and possible discussion of record exempt from public inspection. Motion to convene to executive session in room 125, conference room.
So moved.
Second.
May I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We are now in executive session and I guess you guys.
Bears, if you want to let them know. I did held it at the end, you can let them know that they can.
That's okay. They don't wanna go anyway, so I'll just keep them.
All right, guys, we'll see you.
Have a happy holiday.
About
To reconvene to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. This meeting is now adjourned at
6:44.
$6:44.
Yes.